Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We are excited to introduce you to today's topic, in which we are going to be talking about analytics as a product. So my name is Kalia Garrido. I am in charge of marketing and digital strategy here at Great Data Minds. A bit about Great Data Minds. So we are what we like to call a new breed of data collaborative. We are passionate data advocates, and we have a staggering amount of experience between our advisors and our resources. And so along the advisory track of work, we have advisory services and solutions around data management, data ops, self-service analytics, agile program management, and we never forget about the humans. So we also focus on data literacy as well. We also produce a great amount of content in the way of podcasts, blog posts, videos, live events, and then just like today, we have virtual events as well. So if you haven't already signed up for our newsletter, please do. This is how you will be able to keep abreast of all the cool information that we have coming out. And you can always find us just right at greatdataminds.com and sign up for our newsletter right there. So some housekeeping for today's session. We're going to try to keep our session nice and short and sweet. We know it's the week before the holidays and everybody's got a lot going on. So we're going to talk for about 30 minutes. We're going to have some time for Q&A at the end. All the attendees have been muted, so you guys have the option to enter your questions either into the chat bar or into the question and answer. And we'll get to as many of those as we can at the end. And so in today's talk, the moment you've all been waiting for, we are going to be talking about SAFE. This is the Scaled Agile Framework. And Mike has done a fantastic job of already educating me, so I can give a little bit of an intro here. So this framework was developed in 2011, and it exists entirely to empower complex enterprise organizations to achieve the benefits that smaller organizations are able to get through lean, agile software and systems development. And have we got the right expert to talk us through this today? Let me introduce Mike Lampa. He is one of our stellar Great Data Mind advisors. He's also a certified SAFE program consultant. Mike, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, Kelly, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for being having.
We're everybody's having stuff. It's the giving season. We're all doing it together. So I understand that you have been a pioneer, and we've talked about this before on our podcast. So this has actually become a bit of a familiar conversation, but still really interesting stuff here. So you've been a pioneer, I know, throughout your career with introducing new approaches in the world of analytics for many years. And you have mentioned that this is one of the things that has kind of got you geeked the most. So can you explain a little bit to us about why the SAFE Agile framework is so exciting to you?
Yeah, thanks. It is. It's another pivotal moment that I've had in my career where I picked up on a new set of techniques and approaches. What really fires me up about a proper implementation of the Scaled Agile framework is the incredible amount of business benefit that companies are realizing, and there's hundreds and hundreds of organizations executing their software development life cycles using the Scaled Agile framework, and on average, they're reporting anywhere from a 20 to a 50% increase in productivity within their development organization. Anywhere from 25 to 75% improvement in quality, so defect reduction, because there's a lot of focus around lean quality and Six Sigma mindsets and disciplines in there. And then faster time to market, anywhere from 30 to 75% faster time to market with new capabilities and features in their software, which is allowing companies to differentiate so quickly, right? And then the last one that does really touch me to the core, and to your point earlier, we don't forget about the human. There's anywhere from a 10 to 50% increase in employee engagement and job satisfaction.
Wow.
And when you see these safe shops, people are engaged. I mean, they are small, integrated, cross-functional, fully empowered teams that are enjoying getting their work done. They appreciate that autonomy. They appreciate the focus on investment in their mastery, because it's all part of the core principles. And they appreciate the ability to have real clear transparency all the way up to the strategy and the purpose of the enterprise, and they get behind that purpose to make a difference.
Wow. Those are some big numbers, Mike. Big numbers. So I mean, so coming from a software development world, we've used Agile in software development processes for a while now. And I
Mhm.
think that one of the most interesting things is how this can be applied to data projects.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
yeah, go ahead on that one.
Yeah, yeah, and what Safe brings in addition um, um, agile is the more product mindset approach to development. And when I was looking, and without a doubt, it's used in true software development where we're building operational systems that have user interfaces and update databases and things of that sort, right? But I started looking at it from the standpoint of we have been preaching for years that data warehousing and business intelligence or business analytics initiatives inside of organizations. They're not projects. It's an ongoing program.
Hmm.
And we got people buying in. Is okay. Yeah, I get it. It's a sequence of projects. So yes, it is a program. But what SAFE is promoting is no, don't take a project mindset. Take
Yeah.
a product management mindset where your business analytics is an ongoing value stream. It's an ongoing value producer inside your organization, just like marketing is an ongoing value producer and sales is an ongoing value producer. And start looking at your analytics capabilities and features as analytic products that you can develop and deploy for your functional area, or even embedded analytics in software that you're delivering to your customers, right?
Hmm.
Um, so that's the one thing I've been struggling with, is because our analytic projects are still too slow. We still
Yeah.
take too long. We're always fighting with dirty data and all the usual reasons for the slowness. But when you start to take this scaled agile framework approach, everything is on a regular cadence, and you're constantly delivering value every 2 weeks. You're deploying and you're demonstrating, then deploying something that's producing incremental value in your analytics work stream. And that's where that employee engagement and job satisfaction comes in,
Hmm.
because across the board, I'm delivering better quality because I'm taking a lean approach. Um, and I'm improving my velocity and productivity, and I'm delivering things faster.
It's great.
Yeah.
Wow. So, okay, let's talk a little bit more about the actual, the core fundamentals or the principles of SAFE. Can you walk us through some of that?
Yeah, yep, yeah. So I'll start with the five competency, tough word to get out, five competencies for lean enterprises. Um, the first is around a lean, agile leadership style. And this is for the executives or of the organization to understand what lean, agile is, start to advance those concepts into their enterprise, and applying those concepts and demonstrating them to themselves as leaders down through the enterprise. And I'll talk a little bit more about lean agile leadership later. Um, the next competency is around the team and technical agility. And this is where your agile uh, business software development practices live, right? And it's still there. But start to add additional concepts in there, like some technical practices around building in better quality. So quality by design at every step of the software development lifecycle, doing more behavior driven development where I'm testing the quality of the requirements before I even start to develop. Taking a test driven development where we test the stories before we write a line of code, and then we test the code, right? So it's about focusing on quality around there as part of the agility. And then you've got data ops, the continuous delivery of value through your delivery pipeline, and the separation of deploying every 2 weeks versus when the business decides to release it. So I can deploy into a dark production, if you will,
Hmm.
and have the architecture set up so that when the business is ready to bundle a set of features and release them for consumption, then they push the release on demand button. Uh, Again, a beautiful way to continuously deliver the needed features when the business needs them, and not be constrained. Uh, the next focus is around more of a systems thinking approach, so that from portfolio planning all the way down through the daily stand-up ceremonies. There's a regular cadence and a regular set of ceremonies going on, so that the entire enterprise has full transparency to our progress towards building better systems. And then the final piece is a very interesting component too, and this is where taking more of a product management mindset comes in, where you start to manage your portfolio of analytics solutions. Today they're projects, but let's start calling them products, where I take a lean portfolio management approach, where I'm executing on against the analytics vision and strategy, and then I'm constantly doing innovation and exploration. My business has ownership of their analytics budgets. I don't get into this, annual planning session and running into the guardrails and the delays for getting budget approvals because of a scope of a project has to change. Lean portfolio management puts all that control with the product manager, and I bring the work to the people. I don't bring the people to the work, right? And I've got a budget, and I've got a set of velocity to deliver solutions. And if I want to change out what I'm delivering, it's for the product manager to work with the technical team to make those calls.
Wow. Yeah. All right. So when we're talking about changing from a project, a one-off mindset, to a product, an ongoing value stream, like you explained in the beginning, how does this affect the financial side of this process? We're talking about budgeting. We're talking about annual planning. Are we going? Is it? It's capital. It's expense. What is it looking like?
Yeah. Well, the capital versus operating expense is still subject to accounting, GAAP accounting rules, as to whether you can invest in the development of anything versus you have to expense it, right? But when it comes to the budgeting process, many organizations today, we do the annual planning, and the business throws out a bunch of ideas of things that they want to do, and asks IT to estimate, what's it going to take to get all this done. And then we come up with 60 requests, and we draw a line at the 30 and say, okay, everything above the line is what we're going to work on. Although all the estimates and all that work and all those decisions on what we're going to build were based on just an overwhelming amount of unknowns. And then we get in executing, right? So we have a budget, based on a bunch of unknowns and assumptions, and then we start to execute. And that's when we start to discover what we're up against. Software development is extremely hard to do, right? There's always challenges that come up. And when you run into that and you say, well, I made a mistake, or I made a bad assumption, so I'm going to need more money. Now we got to go back up through the budget approval process, and where do I get that money from, right? And if I'm over budget, but you're under budget, hey, Kelly, can I take some of your budget?
Yeah, you can't have my budget, Mike. You can't have my budget. We've been through that. We've all been through that. Yeah.
Whereas when I'm funding a value stream, I've got my money for the year to work on the most important things that I believe I need from an analytics standpoint. And I'm focusing on the highest value that I can get delivered in the shortest amount of time. So it's called a weighted shortest delivery methodology, right? So I can constantly make changes. When the team says that they ran into some challenges and they have to hold off on finishing a particular feature, I've got 4 or 5 other features in my backlog that I can bring down and have that team work on it. So the team's staying engaged. I'm still getting my value, and I can recycle the feature that had some problems. I can recycle that for the next release. Right?
Wow.
So it allows me to have a lot more, as a business owner of an analytics value stream, it allows me to have a lot more control over what I do with my money.
Nice. Okay. So do you see this as something that's really going to work for enterprise organizations only?
Well, the short answer is no. However, the scaled part of the Scaled Agile framework is what leads people to believe that this is just a large organization approach. And many people that are very Scrum oriented feel that the scaled part of Scaled Agile framework is pouring waterfall back into the Agile process. But that's not the case. So What the Scaled Agile framework lets you do is start to launch multiple release trains comprised of anywhere from 25 at probably the smallest development agile team to 150, 170 people working as an integrated group across multiple scrums within a release, right? And allows us to execute against those products every 8 to 10 weeks. We're delivering new releases of software with interim releases every 2 weeks within that 10-week release train. And I can have multiple release trains running. And if they're highly independent, I've got a framework and a regular set of cadence where we're making sure that we're understanding the needs across all the release trains. So it allows you to scale to incredible size teams. When I was at Honeywell, one of the strategic business units software development lifecycle was around SAFe, and they had a team of 350 people working together every 10 weeks, just knocking stuff out, and then
That's
go into
amazing.
2 weeks of planning and turn it around again. So you can take it all the way down into smaller organizations, and actually it's an ideal place to start, especially if you're a startup and you want to have a good development practice and solution delivery practice that will grow as your company grows. SAFe just allows you to naturally scale that up. If you start with the same, with the right principles from the beginning: agile development, a lean product development mindset, and a systems thinking mindset where I'm looking at everything as an integrated system. Right?
Wow. Okay, so one of the things that was interesting that you mentioned is that you can, with the SAFe framework, you can put the decisions back into the hands of the program managers that are actually working on this every day versus having it maybe, kind of farther up the chain for people that are not really touching it as much. Can you talk a little bit more about how this affects the middle managers in an enterprise?
Yeah. So a little more background on that. So the decision making actually goes all the way down to the agile team. So you move the decisions to where the information and the knowledge is. You don't have a decision that needs to be made by the people that are deep in the guts of the situation and the trade-offs and whatnot. They know the decision they need to make given the situation awareness in front of them, but I have to go up through 3 layers of management to get the decision approved. Right? So what the lean approach to the lean agile development says, no, you move the decision to the value stream where the information and value is understood. Right? Now, what that means is I start to have these cross-functional, a good agile team is going to be resourced with people that allows the team to be fully self-contained. I really don't need to have a lot of dependencies on other groups, although there are exceptions to that in some cases, right? So if I've got this cross-functional team empowered to make their own decisions, well, what about the traditional, resource management, employee hierarchy, employee manager relationship, right? And the people managers are pretty much turning their folks over to these agile teams. The agile scrum masters and the agile release train managers and the product owners and the product managers are driving what the people are working on, right? Now, what the resource managers have a great opportunity to do as part of supporting, putting their people into these agile teams is constantly looking at where can they invest in the improvement of their people's mastery around whatever development path they want to take. So if I'm a data scientist, I would really want to master my art. Well, let me invest on making sure you get that. Let me ensure that there's a good collaboration across all the other data scientists if I'm a data scientist resource manager, right? So it's more about coaching and developing and nurturing people and allowing the work be done within the release trains.
So this is where the happier workforce comes in. You gave that statistic at the beginning. So that sounds definitely like a very encouraging environment for somebody to work in.
Yeah, it was one thing that just really, I mean, you know how you get every once in a while you get the hair on your arm
Yeah.
sticking up, right? The quote was "amp your people up," and I was like, "What? That is so
Yeah.
cool!" I
Yeah.
was like, "Give them the autonomy to
Hmm.
make the decisions. They're down in the weeds. Show them that all I have to do is as a product owner, and even as a resource manager, I got to explain to you, this is my intent. This is what my intent is. This is what I need to get done to support the business vision and strategy. I
Hmm.
need you to act on it,
Yeah.
right? So
Wow.
give the autonomy down to the team. That's the A in AMP. I mentioned mastery a couple times. That's the
Mhm.
M
Yeah.
in AMP. And it was like, invest. Allow these people to get out there and be creative and explore,
Right.
especially this day and age in the analytics world. There's so
Yeah.
much cool software coming online, right?
Hmm.
And
Wow.
you have to stay in, you got to stay up on it, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then the last part is purpose. You know, give the team a purpose that is real and that they can really get their arms around and believe in. A true purpose of the organization. I'm here to build software to make the world a better place, right?
Wow.
Because that's what my company does.
Yeah. That's
And
powerful.
it is powerful. You see these teams, they just rock and
Yeah.
they're having fun. Yeah.
You're selling me on it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds awesome. So
Yeah.
it's another thing you mentioned is that this can like kind of create leaders. And so that has to be that it has to do with that autonomy. And you mentioned, moving the decisions to where
Mm.
the information is. So you're really
Yeah.
enabling people and creating these leaders out of people that didn't have that power before.
Right. Right.
That's
Yeah.
great. Wow.
Yeah. There
Okay,
was.
so I mean, we're talking about a company culture shift at the
Hmm.
highest level. It's especially when it comes to kind of the data and analytics world. And so you mentioned your time at Honeywell. Can you give us any more kind of off the cuff information about what it looked like from the inside over there when they were using it?
Oh, well, yeah. So the background on it is that particular business group had a need for analytics skills in
Hmm.
their software development team because they're embedding analytics to predict critical equipment, critical asset outages before the outages happen. Right. I
Hmm.
mean, we're talking about oil and gas, and there's lives at stake. Right.
Yeah.
Um, so they needed data science expertise, and they didn't have that in their software development team. So they came to the analytics team and said, can we have this model that we want to build. Do you have people that can help us? Yes, sure, we can. But we had to come up with business benefit for every project, right? Every project's got to have a benefit statement
Hmm.
so that we're assigning our people to the best stuff. Well, each of the projects were generating, 300,000, $500,000 in benefit a year,
Hmm.
which wasn't big enough, right?
Yeah.
So rather than them giving us projects, and we would have 2 or 3 people within our team work on that project and then give them the analytic model back, I did an annual visioning session with the product manager in the oil and gas business unit to understand what they were planning on doing as far as features and capabilities for the year, where analytics would enable that feature. Right? So we got a pretty good feel of what they wanted to get done throughout the year. We chunked that up by quarter, and then I came up with an estimate of how much analytic people we needed to take from our analytics group and assign them full time onto the agile release train. Right?
Hmm.
And when we did that, now we're showing an ongoing value stream that's producing anywhere from it was like $15 million
Wow.
in revenue the first year, because it's kind of a startup, and then a full ramp as they're able to sell that feature more and more throughout the year.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Drastic
Yeah.
increase.
That's pretty cool. And
Yeah.
so instead of doing these one-off projects, we put our team into their group, and then we went to the first release planning 2-day workshop. And in 2 days, 300 people took high-level epic statements and business
Hmm.
requirement statements written up as epics or features,
Hmm.
and drove out all of the risks and dependencies and wrote up all the stories and got them into the backlogs with line of sight for the first several sprints laid out, and then an idea of what they were going to do next for the rest of the release. And they're off and running in 2 days. They're executing.
Wow.
And
Amazing.
And they've been doing it for a few years. So now they're seeing a historical objective measurement of the predictability of their ability to deliver with velocity. So,
Mm-hmm.
how many points am I burning? And the ability to look at the actual software that was produced, because every piece of software has business value assigned to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then also to look at the quality factor, the level of defects, right? And
Wow.
they're seeing that demonstrate improvement quarter after quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Great.
really it was amazing. Yeah,
Yeah. Fun to be a part of.
yeah.
Those kind of increases. Wow. Okay. I'm going to stop. I think I'll stop us here, and I want to just get to. We have at least one question coming in now. So
Hmm.
somebody is asking. Many of our clients are looking at using design thinking for ideation, requirements gathering, and more.
Hmm.
It seems that the lines might be a little bit blurry between design thinking and safe. And can you help to clarify that?
Yeah. So design thinking is a set of techniques to use when
Mm-hmm.
you're ideating and
Mm-hmm.
coming up with requirements, right? Which is like, what do I want to do? What is the feature? What's the capability? What's the functionality that I want to have? You can take a set of design thinking approaches. You can bundle those with behavioral storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a more effective and efficient way to describe what needs to be done in business terms so
Mm-hmm.
that a technician can take that and start to run with it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that happens throughout the life cycle within a release train executing under the SAFE framework. When I'm doing portfolio planning, on the front end of that, I'm doing exploration of new capabilities. That's where I could be using design thinking. I come out of exploration. I say, this one looks like it has legs. Let's put it in the backlog. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to buff out the details a little more. I can use design thinking again during
Mm-hmm.
that period. Right? And then now I've proved it. I've gotten it. I decided to add that capability or feature into a particular release. Now the Agile team has taken that and they're running with it. Right?
Okay.
It,
Okay. Okay. So we have a question coming from Mary. It says, so, it all sounds really good, but what are the common areas of pushback, or what is kind of some of the stiff arm you might get from organizations when you present this as a solution?
Yeah. So company inertia will kill SAFE without a doubt. Right?
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
if you're buying in the SAFE, then your leaders have bought in. Right? And the roadmap for a SAFE implementation. The first week, we train the leaders and make sure
Mm-hmm.
that they really understand what they're going to be supporting and what their role and responsibilities are,
Mm.
and how they need to permeate and exude
Yeah.
this new approach down. And then we train the change agents, which are like program consultants. And what I got certified in, I come in and I certify people within the organization to be the safe change agent, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
we train the managers of the people.
Mm.
We put the teams through agility training, true agile training. And then we bring them all together and we train them on how we're going to run releases.
Mm-hmm.
And then we launch the first release, right? And those change agents constantly monitor how we're doing, and now they're mentors and coaches, and they're looking for where's the corporate pushback, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the culture pushback? At the end of each release train is the inspect and adapt, right, phase, and that's when the team gets to say, was kind of cool, but we had some people that were really trying to derail the process. We got to fix that. It's killing our productivity. So they'll do root cause analysis around it. And in the next release, there's going to be stories in there to address the fallout from the prior release, whether it's culture or technique or software or technology needs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of it. Definitely a decent amount of culture. Pushback from people managers, sometimes from executives, especially when we want to start changing the budgeting process and
Mm-hmm.
put them more in direct control of their own budgets. Pushback from the chief financial officer sometimes happens. So best thing to do is incubate it and then step back and say, is this working for us?
Yeah.
And if it isn't, let's figure out how to modify it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So I feel like I mean, it's a great approach. I love, kind of taking it from the top down, the constant checkpoints. It sounds like it's all there. So what if somebody who's watching the video today is like, they're interested in learning more, they want to kind of get going with it. I know that we talked about in the beginning that you're a certified safe program consultant.
Mhm.
Is there, kind of a way that you could come on site? Do you help walk teams through this now?
Yep, yeah, definitely. First we could just do a lay of the land and discovery thing. Um,
Hmm.
Companies will have an inflection point where they realize the way things are running is not going to work for us.
Yeah.
And we can't keep trying to do the same thing, expecting different results. And it's going to get exasperated either because the company's on a burning platform, their market is changing, and they need to change, and they need
Yeah.
to change quick, right,
Right.
to adapt to the market. And there is not an industry right now that can safely think they're avoiding market disruption.
Right.
All the markets,
I feel like we're all standing on burning
yeah,
platforms every day.
yeah,
Everything.
yeah. And the other thing is that disruption. That's the new norm. It's only going to
Yeah.
get worse, more magnified, right? Um, that's the one thing. Or the other inflection point. This is getting to the tipping point for an organization to say, you know what, we are at the tipping point. And when I do the lay of the land, that's when I try to flush that out. Right.
Hmm.
Um, the other thing is that leads to investigating safe is you get new leadership in that are very lean oriented. They have a
Yeah.
lean product mindset,
Yeah.
and they've seen success with Agile before, and they want to bring the two things together to run their organization that way. Right.
Hmm.
So yeah, you come in, you do that lay of the land, you present it back to the executives, you give the executives like a half a day training to help
Hmm.
them understand what safe is, to wet their whistle, and that usually does work. Then you
Yeah.
tell them, here's the roadmap for training and getting the rest of your enterprise up to speed.
Hmm.
In anywhere from, depending on the size of the organization and the agility of it, anywhere from 6 to 10 weeks from the time I do the first training
Hmm.
to when we launch the first release.
Okay.
That part of the organization will be fully safe trained, and they'll be executing their first release, and then stay on and coach them through 2 releases, so roughly 2 quarters,
Yeah.
helping you identify the pitfalls that others fall into, and give them coaching and technique training. Yep.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I think you've done a fantastic job today of really articulating the benefits and really why this can be so disruptive for the data and analytics space. So
Mm.
I feel, we're just over the half-hour point. So I think with that, we'll wrap it up here. But Mike,
Cool.
thank you for joining us today. Thank you for dropping these knowledge bombs on us. It sounds like a very exciting new methodology, especially as we're rolling into 2020 and everybody's looking at, kind of what can we do next? What's new? What's coming out? I think
Right.
this is a great option to keep in mind.
You bet. And Kelly,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much, and a very blessed holiday season to you and everybody
Thank
on the
you.
call. Yeah.
Yep, I totally agree. Thanks, Mike.
All
Bye,
right.
guys.